Hello, my beautiful people. Welcome to your weekly general tarot scope with me, Raphael from Reydiant Reality. It's an absolute pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for joining me. Quick note, my readings, or these readings, should I say, are for everybody. These are the general energies, trends, and themes that we're likely to be experiencing over the course of the week. And all of this is always under the guise of my intuitive message. So before I start these readings, I will sit in my intuition and I will ask, what is the message for this week? What is it that we need to know? And sometimes, most of the time, I will get like a movie play out in my head. Sometimes it will just be a word. Sometimes it will be a feeling. And I translate that into the weekly message that gives us the overarching energy, trend, or theme. And then I break that down with the tarot using the destiny, direction, and insight. So with that said, thank you so much for being here. Before we start, as always, I would like to bless my decks of cards with all forms of love, light, peace, prosperity, and abundance. And I pray that the messages that come through are ultimately clear and concise, and they help us all on our paths to our highest vibrational good. So remember, sometimes this will be about world events. It's happened quite often. Sometimes this will just be about what we need to hear on a more sort of microcosmic level. Now, with that being said, this week, the message was actually really beautiful. So when I went into my intuition, what I saw was the Pegasus. Which, if you've been with me long enough, you know I was obsessed with as a child, like probably unnaturally so, but I really believed that it was real, right? That at some point we actually had winged horses. And so when I went into my intuition today, I saw the Pegasus, beautiful as ever, and there was kind of like a, I don't want to say a siren, but she looked like some sort of old oracle. And she had this really shining sort of iridescent grey, blue, green sort of dress on. And at one point when they were flying forward, she kind of leapt off the back of the Pegasus. And then they both came sort of landing down at what looked like a beach. And what I understood from this was terrain, territory, or a horizon or a space that neither of them, neither her nor the Pegasus, had ever been. Now, we represent, as I understand it, all of us are represented by that, the Oracle, who was riding on the back of the Pegasus. Now, what I got from this was, who are you in this new frontier? So as we start this week on the 16th, we've got a powerful full moon lunar eclipse in the sign of Scorpio, which is all about a purgative energy. This is a release of some sort, a letting go of, a culmination, a completion. This is where something comes to an end. The eclipse season comes to an end with a crescendo this time. Absolutely believe that. And this is where something is going to be finally revealed, where we get the final word or final say on something, where we get a deeper understanding of what everything that we've been experiencing up until this point has been driving us towards, how it is that we are now ready to show up in new ways, but more importantly, what old skins, versions, thought forms, energies, feelings are we now ready to shed? What is it that we're now ready to release or to let go of? There's been some really interesting stuff coming up of late. If you haven't seen it, please check out the there's 3 videos that I've got for you at this point to watch, right? The first one is going to be the In Between Eclipses video that I put out, which was into the multiverse of the magic and the madness. The second one is going to be the Jupiter into Aries video that I did with Denise Matthew of, HD with Human Design. And the second one will be that Mercury retrograde video that I also did with Denise. Those 3 videos will give you a good heads up of kind of what's culminating, what's going on at the moment, and what might be, shaping up to come into your world at the moment. Now, with that being said, the energy of the Pegasus can represent bravery, courage, strength, virility, but it also represents healing and purity and refinement. And the wings that are attached to the Pegasus actually represent a time or a need for prayerfulness. And the really interesting thing is, and before anybody gets into this, If you've been with me long enough, you know I'm not a religious person. I am not one of those people that, you know, has a structured sort of, is into any of that sort of stuff. I was raised Catholic, and I shed that skin as quick as possible while I was growing up, I can assure you. However, even as a proud pagan, I can definitely tell you that the need and the results of prayer are fantastic, and they are truly powerful, and they are truly healing. So, you know, if you're one of those people, and I'll be honest with you, I don't do it much, but when I do it with intent. When I do it with focus. And this could be a time where this week, putting some sort of prayer out could be a really powerful way for you to connect to yourself, to your higher self, to your connection to the divine. All of this is a very, very powerful moment. So utilize this. Now, when she stepped out onto this sort of beach, it was like, okay, well, I've never been here before. And that begs the question, now that you've had the solar eclipse in the sign of Taurus, you're having this lunar eclipse now right at the beginning of this week. Once whatever it is, you know, and this will be releasing or removing or completing something for all of us in a sense, once this thing is complete, when you step out onto that new horizon, when you step out into that new frontier of your life, who are you now? Now that you've had to release something, now that you've had to let go of something, now that you've had to purge something, who are you without the pain, without the need for healing, without the relationship that was holding you back, without the job that was getting you down? Once that thing is removed, it's all you. It's all you. And you have to claim that. You have to own that. You have to be present enough to say, okay, I've never been to this point in my life before, but I get to choose who I am now. And more importantly, I get to bring all of the gifts that I've gathered over a lifetime up until this point. I get to bring that with me. All right, this is a time really to stand on your history. It's a very powerful week for a lot of reasons. It's not just that eclipse. The feeling that I get from this is that we are all closing out a much bigger cycle in some way. And as my wonderful friend Nico of not Scarlet Moon anymore, son of Selene, I love the name change, dude. As he rightly reminded us, Jupiter moving into Aries, this is a brand new cycle for Jupiter. As he's come into Aries, this is like literally him at the start of the zodiac. So this is a big fresh beginning for all of us in some way. Why is that important? Well, if you've been with me long enough, again, you'll have heard me say a full moon isn't just a full moon. It's when you liken this to a woman's pregnancy, the full moon is where she's full, right? Where she's ready to pop, as a lot of us would say. And at that point, it's the end of the pregnancy, the culmination, the completion of the pregnancy, but it's the start of motherhood. It's the start of the life of the child. So wrapped up in all of the full moons, and especially a full moon lunar eclipse, yes, there is a letting go. Yes, there is a severing of a tie. Yes, there is a cutting of a cord. There's something being released here. And it requires all of us to step up and step out in a way that we never have before. With that said, let's see what our destiny card for the week is. And this week we have the Tower card. All right, okay. So to be honest with you, if you weren't expecting this, I was expecting this. I recently read for a client, and she got the Tower came up in her reading, and she said, well, it wouldn't be a Scorpio reading if the Tower didn't show up, right? And we both chuckled at that, because it's like, yeah, it kind of makes sense. With a week like this, with all of the astrological energy shaping up, with a message like this, yeah, absolutely. There is going to be a rumble. There are going to be some cracks in a foundation. In fact, if there are already cracks in the foundation of a friendship, a relationship, a job situation, a business situation, if there's a product or a service that you've been thinking, you know what, I don't enjoy this anymore, it's likely that it's going to come to an end or a completion. Now, here's where this gets really interesting. If you do the Tower correctly, if you see that thing that you know is on its way out, as a good example, let's say the washing machine does some really weird thing and you think, it's never done that before, got a feeling it might be on its way out. If you then replace that or get someone in to repair it immediately, the chances are you avoid the or rather, I'm saying this backwards. When the death card shows up, this is usually the point at which we can let something go. So this week it kind of feels to me though that the Tower is preemptive. So when you feel the cracks or the rumbles of something, this is a moment at which to say, okay, I feel that there's a death or a completion or a culmination of some sort coming here. I can choose to let it go, or I can hold on to it and let the Tower crumble. All right, this is a week where we do kind of have that personal say to say, okay, you know what? Yeah, this is going to be gnarly. This is going to hurt. It's going to be ugly. It's going to be painful. It's, you know, when you see animals and snakes and stuff shedding their skin, it's like the grossest process, right? It's gnarly. It's awful when you see it. Like even, you know, when you get sunburn and you see yourself peeling and flaking, it's like, oh my gosh, it's gross. But what happens once all of that is done? Shiny, new, wonderful stuff comes through. And what I always say is whatever or whoever survives the Tower moment in your life, you can trust that. You can count on that person, that thing, that job, that resource, whatever it might be, because it survived a moment like this. This could be preemptive though, all right? So if you feel the rumbles of something happening, this is one of those moments where it's like, okay, do I pull the nail off or do I leave it on and let it get infected? All right, and with Scorpio, we are talking about a release of toxicity here as well. With that said, for our direction cards, how do we utilize that Tower card? Well, we've got this with the Four of Swords, by letting it happen. All right, the Four of Swords is an inaction card. It's very similar to the Hanged Man in that regard. This is about rest, waiting, patience, stillness. It's about doing nothing, but it's also about mindfulness, meditation, and therefore also possibly about prayer. You've got the Five of Pentacles with this as well. So literally, this could be about releasing stuff. Stuff doesn't always have to mean money. Sometimes it could be, items, objects around the house. Interestingly enough, it doesn't happen very often, but every so often I will give a reading and it's indicated that somebody has a trinket, an item, something that was given to them as a gift, something that was, that they purchased, etc. And I'll say to them, that thing in this room of your house that was given or found or whatever, you need to get rid of it because it's got too much negative or dank energy attached to it. And very often my clients will say to me like, oh my gosh, yeah, how did you know that? And I'm like, well, because it's here in the cards. All jokes aside, like I said, stuff doesn't always mean, money, finances, resources. It is the Five of Pentacles though, after all. Now, for a select few of you, that prayer and mindfulness, possibly meditation or stillness of the Four of Pentacles, Four of Swords even, meeting the Five of Pentacles, this is about truly taking a moment to rest. Where is it that you need to heal? Where is it that you need to sit still in order for something to happen? When you break a bone and they put a cast on it, what do they say to you? Give it at least a couple of weeks before you start doing something. There are moments before when you have to pause in order for the magic of healing to take place. So for some of you, this could literally be that. And then finally, we have the Nine of Cups. Of course we do, right? The Nine of Cups is a profound card of healing. And interestingly enough, this is called, in the Hermetic deck, the Lord of Material Happiness. So the taglines on these cards, here's where this gets really interesting. The Four of Swords is the Lord of Rest from Strife. The Five of Pentacles, the Lord of Material Trouble, and the Nine of Cups, the Lord of Material Happiness. So when I see these here like this really is a time of profound healing, but it comes with a letting go. It comes with a release. And, if you're at a loss as to what needs to be released, then you tap into that Four of Swords and pray, right? Pray, meditate, go into mindfulness, do some contemplation. I love contemplation. It's one of my favorite things. I usually do that when I'm cleaning, because your body takes over and that happens and your mind just taps into all of the other. So that could be a really good way to utilize this as well. And then finally, for your insight cards, what might we need to know or to be aware of at this time? So your jumping card is The Ten of Cups. Isn't that interesting that if we do through the direction, which is our actions, the Nine of Cups, then the Ten of Cups is what shows up for us. I'm not pulling any more cards today for the insight because that really feels for me like an absolute, it's like a follow-on, right? It speaks for itself. The Ten of Cups is perfection and completion. It's not only culmination, but it's also, it represents the true sense of abundance, which isn't just about finances and resources. It's also about true happiness and contentment on that really deep level. The fact that we've got this Ten of Cups in a completely different deck, I might add, out of 78 cards, right? That's why I'm not pulling anymore, because that message for me speaks for itself. The blessings that await us on the other side of a week like this, on the other side of the work that we're now aware that we might need to do, is absolutely wonderful. What I will say, is this going to be a cakewalk? No, not in the slightest. As I said, you know, and what I didn't say actually is when the Oracle lady landed on the frontier, it was like in a heap. All right, onto the sea and the sand, onto the land and the sea, and it was like, okay, right, that's been a journey. And with the Pegasus representing that strength and that need for courage and bravery and refinement to overcome whatever challenges might be here, the rewards are there should we do the work. All right, with that said, I wish you an abundance of all of that good stuff. Have an interesting week. Let me know in the comments how this speaks to you personally. Take care, and I'll see you soon.